Come out to the list. We'll get together, have a few laughs.
Alright. So, apparently, I got a text from Colin. He has a whole list of things that I need to do real quick. I just woke up. Alright. Oh boy. Oh boy. So it's imperative that it gets done right now. So I guess I'm going to get up and do that. Yeah.
Alright, so I'm at the studio. I don't know why Colin's asked me to come in this early, but we're gonna go ahead and do it. I guess I'll set everything up. Well, let's get everything all set up. Hold on a second. Alright. Okay, I guess things are set up. Okay, that's chef. Alright, let me get the lights on here. Alright. Power to the people. Yes, sir. What do we got going on over here? Got... Ooh, more Christmas lights. Ain't that snazzy? All right. Okay. Okay. All right. Okay. So the last note was peel tape, I remember. So.
Welcome to Listmas in July.
You've never seen it.
I've never seen it.
Oh my.
So Colin.
Yes.
How fucking long were you sitting in that seat?
When did we stop filming the last episode? Well, as you can see, I've decided to change it up a bit this month. This is the first, most likely not annual episode of Listmas in July. John McTiernan, the director of today's film, born January 8th, 1951. He's only directed 11 films in total, only 2 of which were made before the film we are watching today. Nomad's 1986, starring Pierce Brosnan, written and directed by him, and then Predator in 1987, starring Arnold Schwarzenegger. The film we are watching today is very loosely based upon the 1979 novel, Nothing Lasts Forever, which is actually a sequel to the author Roderick Thorpe's other book, 1966's The Detective. The film bears very little resemblance to the book besides the location and vaguely the same structure, so much to the point where the book is mostly known for the film that it's based on. On a side note, the original book, The Detective, had its own adaptation starring Frank Sinatra, which the author apparently liked so much that the novel that today's film is based off of was only written for the purposes of getting a sequel made starring Frank Sinatra. If you could please go ahead and open your gift. Oh, what a fool am I. I didn't even have it. I had it on the floor. Where did it?
It's Die Hard.
How the fuck did you?
Colin, I've known that it's Die Hard since the last episode. We've got lights going on. I figured that, and you talk in your sleep. I know that it was going to be Die Hard.
How the fuck did you get in my house and watch me sleep? So, Tony.
Yes.
What do you know about the film we are watching today, Die Hard?
The only things that I know about Die Hard are things that I learned from AVGN in his review of the dog shit awful game that they made about Die Hard. I know there is guns. I know there is glass on the floor. There's scenes with glass, I'm sure,
Yes.
I think. There's a rooftop, and there's a helicopter, and there's man. I don't know, I don't remember man's name. I know it's like a cultural phenomenon, and obviously a lot of people have a big debate going on about whether or not it is a Christmas movie.
Not even going to debate that here.
I mean, we got the lights and everything.
Ladies and gentlemen, why don't you join us all over in Nakatomi Plaza as we attempt to jump off the roof and warn the cops not to kill any hostages as we watch Die Hard.
Oh.
Yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker.
It's Christmas Eve in L.A.
California.
Is Daddy coming home with you? Well, we'll see what Santa and Mommy can do, okay?
And New York cop John McClane has come to see his wife.
I missed you.
Instead, he's going to have to save her.
Sit down.
Within this skyscraper high above the city, 12 terrorists have declared war.
They're about to be taught a lesson in the real use of power.
They're as brilliant
Because I am interested in the $640 million in your vault.
as they are ruthless.
And I'm telling you, you're just gonna have to kill me. Okay. We do it the hard way.
Now, the last thing McClane wants
Think, damn it, think.
is to be a hero.
Where's Howie? Hey, Tucker! Where?
But he doesn't have a choice.
What does he think he's doing?
Job.
They have already killed one hostage.
This channel is reserved for emergency calls only.
Lady, do I sound like I'm ordering a pizza?
He's inside? Who is he? Who are you then? You are most troublesome for a security guard.
Sorry, wrong guess, huh? Would you like to go for double jeopardy?
Do you really think you have a chance against us, Mr. Cowboy?
Yippee-ki-yay, mother.
You just destroyed a building. I am in charge of this situation. Well, I got some bad news for you. From up here, that look like you're in charge of Jack. He is alone, he is tired, and he hasn't seen diddly squat from anybody down here.
Hey, pal, how you feeling?
All things being equal, I'd rather be in Philadelphia.
And you have it.
Only John can drive somebody that crazy.
He's an easy guy to like
Come out to the coast, we'll get together, have a few laughs.
and a hard man to kill. Bruce Willis, Die Hard.
Got invited to the Christmas party by mistake. Who knew?
So, Tony, tell me, what is your conclusion on the endless debate? Do you think that I am just being a contrarian asshole on whether or not this beloved classic action film is a Christmas movie?
Santa was there. He was there, man. He wrote ho, ho, ho. He said he's got a machine gun and everything. The music is there. They roasted chestnuts. By chestnuts, I mean terrorists. They had, listen, it's a Christmas movie. Shut up.
Okay. So, real quick, you saw our community tab post where we were initially saying we were filming, and now you're watching this video being like, yo, why does Colin suddenly look so much less fucking goth and fabulous? We had some difficulties between the 3 or so days ago and now, so we're finishing filming this now. So it's been a minute, but that is completely okay. And with that, Tony, I would like to ask, what are your thoughts on the classic 80s action film directed by John McTiernan, starring Bruce Willis, Die Hard?
Die Hard is awesome. Die Hard's wonderful. Bruce Willis is wonderful. It's a great, wonderful Christmas movie.
Yeah.
I would slot it about halfway through the month. You got to start with like the Peanuts Christmas special. Do this. Grinch.
Why is Grinch funny?
It's a great Christmas story.
Yeah.
I don't know what the confusion is. A man needs to get home for Christmas to spend it with his kids. You've seen this many, many times.
Now, there is a twist on it, though, of course, because it is an estranged man of his own volition, and he needs to try and figure something out to figure out what the fuck he can do to help save his family this year, because he's fucked it up, and that's sort of his character arc. The big culmination of Bruce Willis suddenly realizing I've fucked up. Shit's a tearjerker. Shit's so
it's a little more complex than your Lampoon Christmas.
Yes.
A little bit, just a little more.
Just a tad. Just a little bit.
But yeah, no, Bruce does a wonderful job. He's a great action hero, and he's a great fucking father. He's a wonderful character, and I don't see why they don't put him in more stuff, or didn't at least.
Well, he was, for a short time in the 80s, he was a massive, massive star. And going into the 90s and everything, he was on a show called Moonlighting, which was very popular at the time. That's where I believe Kevin Smith, who is a big fan, big controversy with Bruce Willis, all this stuff around it, first discovered him, and I'd found out about Moonlighting from Kevin Smith and everything. But with that, as the years sort of went on, I think it sort of just fell into this, or he fell into this pit where he was being typecast as the snarky, like, cool guy who throws out one-liners, which I think is interesting because I feel like that's kind of the trope he's going against in this movie.
Yeah.
I hear a lot of people throw around the term everyman a lot when talking about the character of John McClane, and that's entirely accurate, but it's thrown around in the sense of like a buzzword, and I don't think people, if they're discussing who John McClane as a character, they're talking about, look how badass he is. And the thing that I really got out of this viewing, I think the last time I watched it was during a Fathom Events screening back in 2018. The thing I really did get out of this was John McClane is just such a normal dude. Yeah. It's like he's not giving off one-liners like Arnold Schwarzenegger because he's got a million planned out. He's just kind of this like normally charismatic, not schlubby cop, but
yeah, he's got some schlub energy, a little bit, but he's he works out.
No,
he works out. The man, but he does feel just kind of like an uncle that you would have, or like he does feel like quite the dad. No, he does do a few one-liners. You got to. It's an action film.
Well, they're one-liners, but they feel like something that are appropriate for his character. It's not something like in another John McTiernan movie, Predator, when Arnold Schwarzenegger throws a knife at a dude and sticks him to a wall, and he goes, "Stick around." Like it's two very different kinds of energies. Yeah. And with that, we're watching this film in a modern context. There are a lot of films about police officers that in the age we are currently in, it's starting to become more and more difficult to justify certain aspects. And I think one of my favorite reviews on Letterboxd is just like, okay, we're arriving at another classic that falls into the propaganda category. Why the fuck does this one have to be so good? Because there are several things that, like, of course, under a modern lens you could view as problematic, but then it gets into the whole argument of problematic art and what you should and shouldn't allow yourself to enjoy, which comes down to personal preference. I'm, of course, speaking from a place of privilege, but I can't help but like every character in this movie. John McTiernan and Al's chemistry, Carl Winslow himself, are so fucking great. And it's like, yes, if you're looking at it from a real-life logistical standpoint of Al's arc being that he learns to use his gun again, it's a little fucked when you think about it that way. But if you're looking at it in the context of the story and what it means for the character, it's just a really satisfying example of the simplicity of why setup and payoff work so well as a writing tool.
I think a lot of why they can get away with it is because they show basically everybody else involved in law enforcement, television, psychology, basically everybody else doing everything possible to make everything much worse than it had to be.
It's essentially like the situation is pushed to the edge of being the worst it possibly can because you're shown other examples of the FBI, cops, as he said, media, everyone just actively, seemingly trying their hardest to throw their America big dick energy around and make the whole thing just 1,000 times worse.
I think the line was, you think how many, what percentage-wise do you think? About 25% will lose? 25% of the hostages?
I can live with that. It's so fucking awful
Yeah.
and shitty.
It's like fucking Saigon! Hey, Slick! I was in junior high, dickhead.
One of the things I actually really want to talk about with this, when I watched this with a friend named Spencer, now I want to preface something. The list is something that I have been trying to get going for years. Tony, over here, was not the first host. One of my close friends, Spencer, and I worked on a version of the list together, which is on a defunct YouTube channel. The first episode we had was Die Hard on an unlit room on a singular couch with one camera set up. It's not that great, but one of the big things I guess I really want to bring up is sort of the thing I feel like I kind of unlocked for the first time while watching that movie years and years and years ago was this idea that storytelling is so much more than characters explaining what's going on screen. Mm-hmm. So much of something in a visual medium should be conveyed that way without a character having to say a fucking word. John McClane is probably one of the most like communicative, like outwardly communicative characters in like the history of 80s cinema without ever actually having to say what he's thinking. His body language puts forth so fucking much, and that comes down to both Bruce Willis as an actor, but also the filmmaking going on with John McTiernan and the cinematographer whose name I will put right here, who kind of illustrated what's going on. Because everything in this movie, this isn't a film where they're doing really anything new. This is a movie that is made of a bunch of very, very old, tried and true traditions of action filmmaking and just storytelling in general. This isn't a new story that we're telling, but John McTiernan is really trying to push forward on doing the best possible version of this old story that we possibly can. And with that, you have scenes towards the opening, the entire scene on the airplane. It's all body language for figuring out who John is as a person. He's not very social. He's going to let the other person talk so he can learn about them instead of like trying to ask questions or anything like that. And then we meet Argyle in the limo. And that whole conversation about John and his wife and all that, it's John sussing out Argyle to see if he's trying to be an asshole or not, but then it's the audience through the filmmaker sussing out who John is as a person. Mm-hmm. Argyle asks him like, why didn't you move to LA with your wife? You know, why are you, why'd you stay back in New York? And then you just get a solitary POV shot of him looking at the smoggy, sunset-ridden LA skyscape. And then he replies with, well, I'm a cop with a big backlog. I gotta stay home. You're saying one thing, John, but we know what you're fucking thinking. You don't want to live here. You don't want to support your wife. She's in this big skyscraper, so you feel insecure about your own masculinity. And you get all that from one shot. Like, and that is so just important for how this movie is structured out.
The limo is very, very important. I like that the toys get to ride back seat.
Yeah.
The big teddy bear gets the ride back seat.
Yeah.
He refuses to sit back there because, you know, he's too big and macho and proud of himself to let someone serve him and like, you know.
Yeah, it's big and macho combined with this like sort of blue collar mentality he's put up with. He wants to put himself on an equal footing with Argyle. Instead of saying that you are going to serve me because there's something about that feels wrong, and also he's a fucking cop, he doesn't get put in the back seat.
Well, in any case, Argyle's a great character.
Yeah.
Love him a lot. He spends half of the movie sitting and just chilling.
Yeah. Unaware of anything that's going on.
Oh, yeah.
Because while everything is like going, you know, or turning into a shit show upstairs, he has the radio on. He doesn't see that the lights are all off down there because he tells him up front, like, okay, I'm going to be your wingman. If things go well, just let me know. If things don't, I'm here for you. I'll wait down here, motherfucker.
Oh, yeah, and he waited. He was there the whole time, and he picked him up, just like he said he was going to.
And one of the coolest parts is every character sort of gets like a cool, big moment. And you know, whether or not that ends up showing like them for their true colors, them being an asshole or them kind of getting this cool hero moment or not, doesn't matter. Obviously, John gets a fuck ton because the movie is sort of about his journey and how he's not like doing typical action hero things of setting up these complicated, like, big rigs or anything like that. He's surviving. It's like the big thing. He's barely keeping himself together. A bunch of non-fatal injuries.
Yeah.
Just slowing him the fuck down.
Yeah. The glass. I finally know what the glass is all about.
It's fucking awful.
You can't prepare yourself for the glass.
No.
You cannot prepare yourself for the chunks.
The single shot of John McClane giving away his toes for free?
Stop. Do not. Yeah, and then there's just all kinds of like nonverbal stuff describing people's characters.
Yeah.
I know you're not a huge gun nerd, and I'm sure some people will point out it's the wrong model, whatever.
Yeah.
But John uses like a 1911, which
Yeah.
is the classic war hero. It's been used since World War I.
Yeah.
Like the classic of all semi-auto pistols.
Yeah.
And then you've got the Germans who are all using like cheap like fake Chinese, I think MP5s,
Yeah.
which are just like, yeah. And then of course you got whatever that dude's name is, the gargoyle man.
Carl.
Carl.
Yeah, Carl, because his brother was killed and he was sent down in a certain shirt.
Carl with the Steyr AUG, like, it's a Counter-Strike gun, I think, and it's just the silliest little thing, but it's just so weird and like vaguely foreign and cool looking and odd. It just like makes him feel just so much stranger. And then the main bad guy with his like chromed out nice fucking whatever piece that is.
Yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker.
Man.
So fucking good. But like, even with that, you have the two brothers, and you see sort of the difference of how they handle things, and the reason why one ends up getting killed so fucking fast. You know, he's trying to get the wiring all done. He's got his little clamps, trying to make sure that their operation goes smoothly. Then his brother shows up with a chainsaw and just goes through the fucking wires one by one. And he's like, "Smeagol!" Just screaming the fuck out of this shit.
Stop that. I'm working down here. I'm building with my Legos. Come on.
No, it's so fucking good. And if we're gonna talk about just sort of like character building and all these like individual moments, you know, Argyle obviously gets his moment towards the end, where he like breaks out and gives them a ride home, and then he also gets to fucking beat the shit out of the hacker dude who's going to drive the ambulance.
Yeah.
We obviously get Al getting his big fucking hero moment, which once again, I understand in a certain context could probably be taken like not the greatest, but in that moment in there, you get that nice like barrel of the gun rack focus to his fucking face. It's the best fucking feeling in the world. The cokehead fuckboy of The Office, who gave John's wife the watch, who gets his shit. And he gets his moment where he gets his fucking head blown off.
Yeah.
Because
whilst drinking the symbol of American excess of
Yeah.
Coca-Cola.
Yes. Hans, Bubby, I'm your white knight. If we're gonna like just talk about like the filmmaking like I was, and sort of like the verbal communication that's happening between filmmaker and audience, giving information on the characters. When you're doing these large scale action scenes, I feel like a lot of people who haven't seen this, when they hear that, have their minds drift off to scenes with like mass destruction and large scale explosions. But John at the end of this, I think only kills like 10 people.
Yeah. And it's usually when they're literally trying to murder him or someone like right next to him.
And where scale comes into play here is pushing the characters to the absolute fucking edge. And I noticed while watching this, I think the inspiration with Tom Cruise being like a film nerd for the big, I don't remember where it is. It's the largest building in the world in Mission Impossible 4.
The Burj Khalifa?
Yeah. Once again, put it right here.
Put the name up there.
Burj Khalifa, that's what it fucking is. Yeah. But when he's climbing that and then gets out on the line and then has to break through the window after the fucking little laser cutter bit breaks, I'm like, oh, they stole that from this movie. Cool. Because if I'm able to go off on a little tangent here, the new Mission Impossible trailer where you have the fucking thing where he jumps off the cliff and everything, and then off the cliff he goes into like a fucking like parachute thing. I fucking love Mission Impossible so fucking much.
That man is going to die.
Is that Tom Cruise? He's insane. Inside joke, but no, with that, it's like I was taking a trip to visit family a couple months ago over in the South. And when I was over there on the plane, I was rewatching Singing in the Rain for the first time in my adulthood. And there's like straight up a shot that is literally like a small scale version of that Mission Impossible stunt where he goes off a big cliff, jumps off, and then parachutes off the motorcycle. And I'm like, Tom Cruise, you fucking nerd. That's fucking sick. But no, with that, it's like you have moments where it's just these big spectacular stunts, but it's because it's a man being pushed to his very edge. And going off on that thing where I was talking about where John McClane is sort of this everyman, while he's doing these insane, stupid things, he's not doing it with like a brave, macho bravado on his face. He's tying the hose around him, whispering to himself, John, what the fuck are you doing?
What are we doing, John?
What the hell are you doing? And then he's praying to God, I will never go on top of a tall building again, I swear.
Let's talk about probably my favorite scene in this whole movie is when he meets the big boss and he's not quite sure if it's really him.
Oh, God, it's so fucking
That
good.
whole sequence is great. So he puts the gun down.
Yeah.
Right. He's going to fuck around with the explosives, figure out what's going on. And John finds him. And instead of just, doing the action hero thing where he would just assume crazy guy messing with the thing and just blasting him, which would have ended the whole movie right there.
Yeah.
He gives him a chance and he says, hey, you come with me if you want to stay alive. And this whole time he's just testing him and prodding him and being like, hey, what's your name? He brings him over to the sign that has all the various people that work there. Clay.
Bill Clay.
He gets two people's names mixed up and that's it. And he says, well, he gets one more shot. I got no bullets left in this gun. So you're going to learn how to shoot today, Clay. And he hands him it. Oh, man. That whole sequence.
It's so fucking good. And once again, we're going into the whole thing I was talking about earlier, where John, being a police officer, is doing his police officer thing and trying to suss people out constantly. He's only saying things to try and like set people off and see how they react. Yeah. He's a naturally sarcastic and charismatic person, but most of the time there's tactics going on through that. It's not just a normal, like, I'm doing this just for the sake of this is who I am as a person, go fuck yourself. It's like there's always some kind of logic behind it, and it's just really, really smart and cool character writing. This movie is so solidly fucking structured. It's over 2 hours. It feels like 90 minutes.
Oh, yeah.
Nothing about it feels like it's going on for too long, and everything just plays at the correct time you want it to. Like I said, it is the prototypical action movie formula done to the best possible fucking degree.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, and we need to talk about, gonna fact check this, but I believe this is Alan Rickman's first feature film role. Fucking Snape. The thing everyone knows him for. Rest in peace, Alan Rickman. We lost you at your fucking early 60s. Way too fucking soon. But, like, could you imagine coming onto the scene with this fucking performance?
Just showing up. Oh, it's my first like major role. It's just a movie called Die Hard. You might not have heard of it.
It's because this whole fucking thing in this is that it goes beyond just being kind of generic, sort of post-Red Scare terrorist. This is made in like the height of like the Reagan era. And a lot of people just having general fear over the other, the term Eurotrash is used like several times in this movie.
Yeah.
And they're like using it to this advantage. Like all of them are like presenting themselves, oh, we're terrorists. We're terrorists. And then about 20 minutes into the movie, he literally says the phrase, oh, we never called ourselves terrorists. We're literally just petty fucking thieves. Because you have this insane collection of art and money and old school shit. And that's fucking brilliant. It's so fucking fun.
Every single person who finds out that this is all they're doing is like, are you kidding me, man? Are you, like, look at what is happening right now.
Y'all are just a bunch of petty thieves. I am an exceptional thief.
And since I'm now adding kidnapper to that list, I suggest you be kind.
Yeah, it's so fucking,
and of course.
Yes. Yes, the back tape gun with Season's greeting on it.
It has Season's greeting on it. It's a Christmas movie.
There are sleigh bells playing when it pans down to the tape, motherfucker.
Y'all are nerds It's a Christmas movie.
And you know what? That includes Bruce Willis, who on a roast said this wasn't a Christmas movie. You're doing it to trigger us, and it's fucking working! A little basic, just like I said, one of the most simple things you can do as a storyteller is set up and pay off. It makes your script seem so much more smarter when in reality you're just placing something here and bringing it back later. But when it's done well, something as simple as Ellis, the cokehead, establishes from the beginning, like this guy consistently, even from beyond the grave, is fucking people over. In the beginning, it gets established, making John angry that he got his wife, who has been estranged from him for a couple years now, this nice fucking watch.
Show him the watch.
Yeah, show him the watch.
It's a Rolex.
Yeah, halfway through the fucking movie, he gets shot in the head after essentially outing John for all of his information, giving a bunch of shit over to Hans and his whole group. Later on in the movie, towards the very end, instead of Hans just falling out a window and killing himself, he grabs onto the fucking watch, almost killing John's wife.
Yes.
Like, it's not only is it being told in the 3-act structure, so you're going with like the basics of storytelling and screenplay writing, but on top of that, it's just a little fun like moment that you get to where if you're like just a basic, not even eagle-eyed viewer, but just a very basic viewer, you can be like, oh, I noticed that. That's fucking cool.
Of course, there's also the photograph. Towards the very beginning of the movie, she has on her desk the photos of her family, one with her and John, and she makes a point out of slamming it down.
Yes.
And several points in time, someone's attention is brought back over to that desk.
Yeah.
And
whether it be John himself, because he sees, oh, that's like a signal to him after he already saw, once again, brilliant visual storytelling, goes over when he's getting in the building, oh, just go on the touchscreen over there. Once again, pointing out he doesn't like technology, he doesn't like modern shit because he's an old fucking boomer.
Yes.
And then going and it's just goes to search her name, puts an M for McLean, goes through both pages, nothing pops up, searches in G for her last name, and her name immediately pops up going back to her maiden name, and it immediately upsets him, doesn't say anything though, all visually, and then he goes back to her office and sees the fucking frame face down. So it's both storytelling for the audience on how she's feeling, but also how this affects John. And then as you were saying,
there's plenty of times where someone's attention is drawn back to that desk, whether it's someone notices that she has kids and is starting to use that as leverage. She notices that they haven't noticed the one that's still facing down. There's a moment where where Hans is like looking at the desk and thinking about like, what's up with this? Just at the last second, his attention gets brought back away from it.
Yeah, and then finally, at the very end, he hears a news broadcast talking about John McClane's children, saying, Mommy and Daddy come home, and then he looks over at Holly, who's, of course, like, fuck. And then she looks over at the TV guide, looks at Holly, sees the pictures with the kids on there, lifts up the frame, and it's John!
And you're just like, no!
Oh, this is so fucking good!
Every single time you're like, please don't lift the thing. You know it's gotta happen, but you're just like, please don't lift the thing yet. Please don't lift it.
Yeah.
Man, it's just wonderful. It really is just, everything is set up and pay off and set up and pay off and set up and pay off.
Yeah.
And like you said, it's a lot of stuff that's been done before, but it's done just about perfectly here.
Yeah.
Music. If we're going to talk about music for a second, great, wonderful. It's a lot of Christmas music just mixed in and like slight alterations and stuff like that.
Lots of classical pieces just intertwined into the score, and you don't notice it until it starts abrupting its way into the fucking shot. They open the vault, and that shot of Hans Gruber just with the light flashing on him.
The music is great. Sound design is wonderful.
Yeah. No, it's once again, it's a lot of like old school kind of like sorry. It's a lot of like old school, almost Indiana Jones-esque kind of just punchy, unrealistic gun sounds. But it feels good, and this 4K transfer is fucking gorgeous. I think they redid the sound mixing with Dolby on this. And when we were watching, just the fucking good juxtaposition of like good mixing with the vocals while simultaneously over top of it you can still like hear the vocals mixed in with the thudding of everything going on. It's fucking great.
Sidechain, everybody. Remember, if you're ever working on a song and you want it to just pulse and you want people to still hear the vocals over everything, sidechain is your friend. Use it. But nah, the audio is great. I don't think I noticed anything really truly skunky.
No.
Maybe an explosion here or there is a little cheesy. Not really.
But even then, like for the movie that it's going for.
Yeah. Set design. I don't know how do you make all this stuff? Do you think they just had an office that just blew it up?
So, that if I'm remembering correctly, I do believe the large wides for like the buildings exploding where there isn't even a person in frame. Good old-fashioned 80s filmmaking. It's a bunch of models and miniatures.
Sick.
And you just do that, and it just fucking looks good because you're actually capturing something on screen. Yeah. And when you do stuff, not at full scale, but close enough scale to where the explosions are a bit smaller, but because they're fitting in with this, like if you try and do those miniatures way too small, it's not gonna fucking work. But the way that a lot of miniatures were done in this like era, in something like Blade Runner, they're miniatures.
Yeah.
But they're fucking huge.
Yeah.
Like, just absolutely massive. The original Millennium Falcon model is like 6 feet long from A New Hope.
Which is still miniature when you think about how big a fucking spaceship is. So miniatures, there's some blue screen, and then matte paintings.
Yeah.
There's so many shots where it's like down an elevator or down a shot.
Looks so fucking good though.
You're just sitting there like, my God. Did they go to the place? Did they do the thing? No, it's just if you draw it good enough and look.
Well, you draw it and you match the lighting correctly.
Yeah.
The fucking Hans Gruber shot of him falling off the building. Once again, the year and Christmas is not complete until I see Hans Gruber falling off of Nakatomi Plaza.
It's not a real Christmas until you watch a man splat.
Yeah. So you got that dope ass shot where I'm sure it's just a mannequin falling off there. It's a good fucking mannequin of him falling to the surface and just fucking flattening on the concrete and everything. But then the thing that makes that work is that slow motion shot has not aged at all. It looks real.
Somebody in there they got in with the X-Acto knife and they got ever so perfectly. He used to slice the garlic so thin it would melt in the pan.
That's like the fucking bullshit part. As someone who's done like rotoscoping for other projects digitally, I hate that. I hate that, and by comparison, it's so fucking easy.
Oh yeah, you have a magical computer box that magically magnetizes the thing to the thing.
No, like that's the thing. Like if you're using like, it's not correct though, because if you're trying to get like pixel perfect shit for that kind of stuff, not even the magnetism doesn't necessarily work the correct. You still have to do it by hand. But I have a backwards button. Is the big thing. Could you imagine just with a razor blade cutting that and then shit, I fucked it up. That's in the movie now.
Yep. Oh yeah, that for a second where his neck is just not there. Yeah, that's in the movie now. God. But no, it's great filmmaking. It's great audio. It's great acting.
It's so fucking funny.
It's very, very funny.
Yeah.
Sometimes in just a plain funny way. Sometimes in like a black comedy, watching the dude get somehow.
This line is reserved for emergencies only. What the fuck, lady? Do I sound like I'm ordering a fucking pizza? Ah, God.
Yes.
So fucking good.
So overall, real great movie. Make sure to watch it this December. With your family, with your maybe not with your kids.
No, with your kids. Fuck it. I watched this when I was 12. I'm fucking good.
And he turned out fine. Look
at me. Well, that was the first and more than likely only year of Listmas in July, Tony. Did not go as planned originally, but I hope you had a great time. I'm really happy you enjoyed this movie. I would be a bit concerned if you didn't like Die Hard, but who fucking knows?
It was a really great time. I'm really glad that you showed it to me. Thank you so much, Colin.
Yes, of course, my dude. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching the list. Give me your thoughts on Die Hard in the comments. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great night.
You say it with me. Chef! I don't know why I do that. It's not like they're ever going to see this part.
No, they're never going to see that part.
Oh, man. This lavalier is the only thing keeping my gills in place right now, bro.
No, I fucking understand. And let's just be happy we did not end up having to film that second part on the day of. We ended up being able to give you a break because your mask, it was 90 degrees outside and everything.
It's melting, bro.
Yeah.
It melted into my gills. I just it irritates my back, bro. How long do I have to wear this fucking thing?
Well, Sectorcom is going to have to get back to us soon about this. Otherwise, our military regime is going to be gone.
Fucking
Clevlon 4 is going to be fucking wiped out, all because we decided to take some stupid fucking alternate mission on Earth.
Man, I got 20 speckles on that, man. And I'm not losing that 20 speckles.
And I know, and you gotta feed your family too. Where the fuck have you been with your family, by the way? Have you tried contacting them? Should we get the communications back up?
I don't know, man. Is it even... Can we talk about this later? Can we talk about this later?
Your mic